On this episode of Internet Business Mastery, we discuss how to dominate any search engine to get massive traffic. And in the quick tip, we have a tool that will instantly increase your reading speed.
Welcome to InternetBusinessMastery.com, where you will learn to take control, make more money, and start an internet business today. Here are your hosts, Sterling and Jay.
Hey everyone, I'm Sterling.
And I'm Jay.
And we're here to help you find more freedom and fulfillment through internet business. To learn more about how to start your own business, visit freevideogift.com. So Jay, what's going on in this wonderful world of internet business? Does that sound dopey enough?
I was just trying to... Who's the singer, the trumpet player that sings What a Wonderful World? Louis Armstrong, right?
Sure.
Louis Armstrong. Well, hey there, Louis Armstrong. Anyway, let's see. What's going on that's interesting? Well, you know, this morning, right before we got on to record this show, I completed a new morning ritual that I've been doing for a little over a week now. I'm not sure if, I imagine this is probably a book that you've read at some point in the past called The Artist's Way.
Yeah.
Does that sound familiar?
Years and years ago when I was doing the Hollywood thing.
Yeah, I figured that would have probably been the case because it has been around quite some time. And actually, I haven't read the book, admittedly. But just in some research and different things that my wife and I were looking around at recently, we came across, some blog posts talking about this morning pages exercise. So I guess just to fill in quickly, anybody listening that's wondering, well, what are you talking about? Artist's Way and morning pages. Actually, I can't speak much to Artist's Way other than I guess it's this book by this lady that's all about getting unstuck creatively. That's my understanding. So she has different things about how to understand your creativity, and if it gets blocked, what are some things you can do to unblock it, and how can you keep it flowing as an artist, whatever kind of art or creativity that you do. And really, I think creativity is an important part of daily life. I mean, I know that even in business, we use a lot of creative energy in the content we create and the strategies we come up with. So creativity is just a part of the human experience, an important part of life, and certainly for the entrepreneur, a critical thing for progression and fulfillment and to get things done on a daily basis. And so when I was reading about this one blog post was talking about the one particular exercise that she talks about in that book that he found the most beneficial to him, and that's an exercise called morning pages. And very simply what it's supposed to be is first thing when you get up in the morning on a consistent daily basis, it becomes kind of a ritual you do. You sit down and you write 3 handwritten pages, just stream of consciousness. So it's spontaneous, it's daily, it's consistent, and it's just stream of consciousness, whatever comes to your mind. So like my first day, it was literally like, okay, here I am sitting down, trying to do this morning pages, feeling a little bit tired. I wonder what I'm going to talk. It was just kind of like nonsense. And then it started forming a little more into thoughts and things coming to my mind. The last few days has been a lot more. It's been interesting to see the different things that come up. A lot of times it's like things that might be worrying you or things that the whole idea is, well, whatever it is that's getting you stuck in your creativity will come up, and then you might process it and come up with a solution. You might get so sick of seeing yourself complain about it every day on these pages that you finally do something about it. Or, if you're not necessarily in between being stuck and unstuck, also just inspiration might come up, a great idea that, whether it's for, your business, whether it's for a song that you're writing, whether it's for painting, whatever your different creative outlet might be. So I decided to give it a try because I just seem I like forming new consistent habits, especially ones that help me discover more about myself. And I just wanted to see what it was like and what would come up. And it's been very interesting. I mean, the first couple of days it's like, well, I don't know. Okay, whatever. But I was just willing to be patient with it to see what would happen. I did like the fact of I felt good that I was doing something for myself. I felt good that I was doing something new. It actually only took me about 20 minutes to do. And I should add that I don't actually do handwritten. I type it in. There's a great tool online called 750words.com specifically made for this kind of exercise, the morning pages exercise. And so in about 20 minutes, I write out 750 words. And the last couple of days, the last few days, there's been at least one good key insight of something I want to do or something to help me maybe get around a sticking point in my life or a new understanding of some sort. So I've really actually kind of been enjoying it. It's new. It's growth promoting. It helps me. It's just kind of cool to have that thinking time in the morning. And so anyway, I just wanted to bring that up. I don't know if anybody listening has tried that before. I don't know if you remember ever whether you tried the morning pages or not, but I don't know. Does that spark anything in your mind, Sterling?
Well, yeah, what we ended up doing is I was in a writing group and we started doing it that way. And then we, after, I don't know, maybe a month or so, it kind of switched to a friend of mine and I were writing a screenplay at the time, not to get together, our own separate things. And we would basically race at the beginning of the week to see who gets to 10 pages first. And whoever gets to 10 pages would owe the other one $10.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
And it wasn't much money, but it was one of those things where you start getting pretty competitive and seeing if, how early on Monday. And then sometimes it would go to Friday and you're like, man, I just haven't felt it. I've been doing morning pages, but, it hasn't led to me writing actually in whatever I'm doing. Now, what this brings up for me is it could be some sort of challenge that you have, like, for us, people in the academy could do something where, they get a group together and whoever gets their first 3 blog posts of the week set and ready to go up, or their first one of the week written and completely put up, they win for the week or something. I mean, it's just ways to get that writing ability flowing or content creation flowing and make it into a game as well. I mean, why not?
Absolutely. No, that's a great idea. So anyway, yeah, if anybody's curious about that, 750words.com is so 750words.com is the tool that I've been using. And then if you go to, I didn't actually get the book myself. I think I ended up on the author site, and there, in fact, if you just Google Morning Pages PDF, and here I'll grab the link and we can stick it in the show notes. There's a PDF that she created talking about the 2 basic tools, the 2 basic exercises that she goes through in the book. So you can just read that PDF and not have to get the whole book and read it necessarily right now. Again, I haven't. I've just been I just read this one PDF to understand the exercise, and then I dove in and started doing it. But I just wanted to bring that up because I think whether it's for self-discovery, whether it's for just writing, whether it's to get creative sparks of genius, it's an interesting thing to try. So if this is speaking to you at all, I'd go ahead and just challenge you to go to 750words.com, sign up for an account, and try it for a week and see what comes of it.
And now, the features segment.
All right, on this episode, we're actually basing this whole feature segment on an audio question that was sent in, that was called in by one of our listeners. So let's go ahead and play that question first, and then we're going to, we'll go ahead and speak to that a bit. So first, the question, here it is.
Hey, Jay and Sterling, this is Dan from San Diego. I started listening to your show in 2007 during my 2-hour commute, and now I own my own business, and, you guys played a big role in that, and I really appreciate what you do here at the show. I run a podcast called the Lifestyle Business Podcast, and I'm going to be launching a second show in the next month or so about buying and selling used cars, another interest of mine. And I'm really confused as to how iTunes works and how you can manipulate your podcast to get sort of optimum exposure in iTunes. And I know you guys are obviously experts at that. I was wondering if you have any sort of general tips for that. I'd be really interested to hear any sort of advice you have about getting more traffic from iTunes. Thanks so much for everything you do, guys.
All right, so that was Dan from San Diego. Thank you very much for sending that question in, Dan. It's a great question, actually one we get asked quite a bit since we have done very well in iTunes and continue to do so. People often wonder, well, how do you exactly go about getting great exposure inside of iTunes? And we're definitely going to speak to that, but actually we want to kind of pull it back a little bit to a broader picture, because really the key to what we did in iTunes is what can be applied to many other search engines out there. And so if we kind of show you the broader view, then you can apply this not only to iTunes, but to just about any other place that you want to get exposure for your site and for your content. So probably the first thing to point out is maybe to widen the scope a bit of what we think of as a search engine. I mean, certainly iTunes, when they came out with the podcast directory and as they started adding audiobooks and all these other things, and as the iPhone and the the iPod started expanding in popularity so rapidly, it became just natural in our minds to look at that and go, well, this is nothing but another search engine for great content. I mean, everything online pretty much starts with a search. If you're interested in some kind of information or some kind of entertainment, often you're going somewhere and searching for it. And the obvious place we all think of is Google, but we also go to YouTube and search. We also might go to Twitter to search and see what people are saying recently about a particular event or about a particular product. Maybe if you're looking to see what people think of the latest iPhone, well, you might go into Twitter and do some searches for that. Or if you're interested in what your friends are saying, you might go into Facebook and start looking for pages and things about a particular topic. So all these different places that we go to get information and to be entertained and to connect with other people, essentially they are search engines. They become search engines, places that we can look for things that are relevant and interesting to us. So you, the marketer, what your job is then to serve up great stuff that is that not the end market is going to find interesting and relevant to them, your target audience, but also that fits the framework of the search engine itself. Okay, so that's point number one. Start thinking about a wider definition of what a search engine is, and that's exactly how we approached iTunes. It maybe wasn't the most obvious or intuitive thing to think of it that way, but that's how we approached it. So number two thing is to think, well, what's the purpose of any search engine? Well, this purpose of Google is to serve up the most highly relevant and the most highly authoritative response to a search query for anybody that goes to Google looking for something. So that's two things, the most highly relevant and the most highly authoritative. So when somebody, for instance, goes in there, I've been getting into some new DSLR camera and video stuff. So I've been doing lots and lots of different searches about, what camera to buy, what lenses and things like that. So if I go in there and search for best lens for DSLR video, Google's job is to go out there and first of all, narrow it down to, okay, here are the different articles that might be relevant to that topic. And it could be as many as hundreds or thousands or tens of thousands or a couple million or more, depending on the topic. So then obviously that's too much information. So the second thing that Google has to do is decide, well, how do I rank these according to what's going to be the most authoritative? What's going to give them the answer that they're looking for, whether they're looking to buy something, whether they're looking for a video to watch, so based on the search, they make some of those decisions. So that's the job of the search engine. So your job is to make yourself, for whatever that particular search engine might be, make yourself look as relevant as possible to your target keywords, and also make yourself look as authoritative as possible within all the different options that the search engine has to serve up and give to its the person that's searching. Again, this is whether it's YouTube, whether it's Google, whether it's iTunes, or anything like that. So that's simply what we did. When we went to iTunes, we thought, okay, well, there's a search box up there, and there's some different categories and things, and we just put ourselves into first of all we put ourselves into the shoes of the person that might be looking inside of iTunes. What are the different things they might do? Well, of course, they might look at the top ranked shows, and they might look at the different, they can go down inside of different categories and see what the top ranked shows are within a category. They can look and see what iTunes themselves have decided to feature. They can look and see, they can do a search inside of the box and see what pops up. So I was looking at that search box and going, well, if that's just like a Google search and iTunes wants to make itself, give the most relevant and authoritative stuff for the person that's searching, well, how is iTunes going to know whether or not it's relevant? So that was the first question that we had to approach. Well, pretty much in any search engine that you go to, whether it's YouTube or Google or iTunes, relevance comes down to keywords. Comes down to looking at the words that are used on a particular page, within a particular entry, within a particular tweet, the words and title and tags within a YouTube video, the title and author and description that go along with an iTunes description. So in the case of iTunes, we just looked at the listing and said, okay, well, we've got the title up there. That's going to be an obviously strong place to look for keywords. If somebody looks for internet business and our title of our show has internet business in it, well, there's a strong relevance connection that's going to be there. Same thing in the description, the author. So there's all this different data that you can enter in that goes along with your feed inside of iTunes. For Google, they're looking at the text on the page for the blog post or whatever page on your site. For YouTube, well, they've got the title they can look at. They've got the different tags. They got the description they can look at. And, for audio and video, at least right now, a lot of these search engines don't like transcribe the audio and video and know what is said inside of it, but they do have all this other, data that goes along with the audio itself. So in the case of an iTunes listing, there's the description of the show and the title of the different episodes and things like that. So that's what we did. We made sure that we had the right keywords in the right places and tried different things to make sure that when somebody searched for internet business, internet marketing, entrepreneurship, social media marketing, things like that, that we looked relevant to those searches because we had used those words in different places within our listing. So not only is that good for, obviously, the search engine to know we're relevant, but then also when the searcher sees those things. So if somebody searches for internet business and they see a result that says internet business in it, then that's just going to spark, you're entering into that conversation in the mind. When I was looking for DSLR video tips and I came across the articles that were titled DSLR video tips or best DSLR video lenses, well, my brain went, oh, yep, that's what I'm looking for. And so I clicked on that thing and went through and checked it out.
Well, and the interesting thing, just as a side note of using keywords, like for us, obviously we used internet business, but we're like going, okay, well, we can't just use internet business. We've got to use another descriptive word or something, deciding what else to go with it that still makes sense and also tells the person reading what the title is something about you. So clearly, if you like, we used the word mastery to show a different thought in your mind. Like when you're actually looking at internet business mastery means that you're more of a long-term, like solid, real thing. Like you're going to take time to actually do it. So even the word that isn't part of the main relevance, we took a lot of time to think of and figure out, what would make somebody go, oh, this is what I want. I don't want to fly by night. You know what I mean? Like, I can't even think of some of the words that people use in the kind of get rich quick market. But, there are definitely other words we could have used. But even on the other side of relevance, we also just wanted to make sure that, after they see the keyword, they also see something that, triggers their mind to see us as solid.
Right. As opposed to like, Internet Business Riches Show or something like that.
Yeah, something that definitely could lean more towards the get rich quick market or something like that. But that's just a little side note I wanted, really think of, because a lot of people will go, okay, keyword plus something else. And definitely both aspects of that are really important, I believe.
No, that's a great point that you bring up, because if we, and that's why it's important, yeah, definitely to remember not only we're playing to the search engine, but we've got the end market really, which is the most important. And if all you do is just stuff keywords everywhere, then your content ends up very mechanical. Your titles end up very, keyword rich, but boring to the end user. And, so yeah, that's a great point you bring up. We got to remember that, in the end, it still has to be good content. It still has to flow well. It still has to be a gripping headline. It still has to be a strong title or a good brand, whatever the case may be. That simply keywords on their own, yeah, they might be great for the search engine, but you have to consider the end user as well. Okay, so that's relevance. Relevance comes down to keywords. So in our case, it was making sure that we use the right keywords and we use FeedBurner that enters in all those little pieces of information that iTunes grabs out of the feed. And, not to get too technical, but, FeedBurner is the tool that you enter the title in different categories and some tags and keywords and different things like that. And we just made sure that we used. So if you go to iTunes and you look at our listing within iTunes, I think you'll see how we did the keywords in our listing there to target for relevance. So the second thing is authority. So what's going to be the most authoritative thing? So let's say if somebody searches in iTunes and iTunes goes out and looks and they come up with, let's just say 50 different things that might be related to internet business or, whatever the case may be. Again, whether it's Canon DSLR cameras, whether it's real estate investing, whether it's knitting patterns, whatever the search might be. There's a handful of results and now the search engine has to decide, well, which one, there's only so many things I can show on the first page. For Google, it's maybe 10. When somebody searches in iTunes, it shows on average about 4, maybe 5 or 6, top build things right there that might be the most authoritative, that it thinks is the most likely that person's going to like it. So how do you climb up in those rankings and make sure you're at the top? Because I think we all know that the closer to the top you are, the more clicks, the more attention you're going to be. Just think about any Google search you've done. How often do you go to the second page? Well, very, very seldomly. It's those top 3 results that get the most clicks within Google, and it's the same thing no matter what the search engine is. So to get higher rankings, well, the thing you have to do is make yourself look as authoritative as possible. And there's always some way, and maybe some combination of ways, that a search engine decides, it's usually kind of you can think of it as a voting system. You know, which of these pieces of content, which of these search results has gotten the most votes of interest, the most votes of popularity from the general users. So an example of this would be inside of iTunes. Well, they could look at, well, how many ratings does this have? How many reviews does this have? How high are those ratings? How often have people been clicking the subscribe button within iTunes recently to know that, there's new users finding this interesting? In Google, they can look at things of, well, how many people have linked into this website? That's a big one with Google. The more links you have pointing to a page, the more Google looks at that as votes. As to, this is a popular blog post because we can see 100 different pages have linked into this. Or inside of Twitter, it might be, well, how many times has this particular tweet been retweeted? Well, 12 people have reshared this out with other people.
Well, and you can see actually on any of our blog pages now, we have 2 things that help get us links on any of the blog pages. One says it's a Facebook button to share, and one's a Twitter button just to help along with those links.
Yeah, help along the authority and get the content out there, get ourselves that higher ranking in all those different places. So the question you have to ask is, well, what are the things that I can do to make my content? What are the things the search engine is probably going to look at? Another example would be YouTube. What are some of the things that YouTube might look at to know? I mean, if you think, it's staggering the amount of video that gets uploaded even every minute on YouTube. It's just insane. The amount of content there. There's some really great content, and then it also can end up kind of being a landfill for other nonsense that most people aren't going to find interesting. So how is YouTube supposed to separate the wheat from the chaff, to use that analogy? Well, there's probably some simple things that they could do. They can probably go, well, okay, let's look and see how many views this video gets within the first hour or 2 of being on the site. If it gets some, even a handful of views, well, that tells us this video probably has an audience. This person kind of has a following. It can look and see, well, how many thumbs up does this video have? How many star ratings? What kind of star ratings does this have? Has it been embedded on other people's sites? All these things are little indicators that show YouTube, hey, this might be a popular or authoritative video that people might like. And hence, the more you have those things in your favor, the more that you are likely to, hence, if somebody were to search for your topic inside of YouTube, show up higher, or search within your topic in iTunes, have your tweets show up, and so on and so forth. So, relevance and authority. So the challenge here is to go out and, well, first of all, just start thinking of all the different places that your audience might be, and all those different sites. And whether it's a Squidoo, whether it's a forum, whether it is Twitter or Facebook or the obvious ones, just think of these things as search engines, and then just be thinking about, well, how do I make myself relevant, and authoritative? The first thing is just make great content, but then make sure you get those keywords in strategic places. Make sure that you put some effort into getting those links back to your content, or getting people to watch your video by putting links out to Twitter and getting people over there to watch. I mean, every time we release a video on YouTube, we send out something in the newsletter, and we get people to go in and check that video out. Because we want, YouTube right away to see there are people liking this, there are people doing things with this, and, try to get it embedded in a couple different places. Now, that's not to say spread yourself thin and chase all these different search engines down, but as you go to each one strategically within your business, you can get a long ways ahead by just thinking in that way. First of all, thinking of all these different channels as different search engines, because I guarantee most people that started podcasts back in the day, the early days, with iTunes, I don't think they were approaching it that way. In fact, to this day, I'm the only one that I think in my book and us on this show and in the courses we do, I haven't seen really anybody talking about optimization of your content for iTunes, which it seems silly considering the popularity of it and the fact that really it's just a search engine for content. But here you are. We're giving it to you here on this show because, this is a key piece of just traffic and exposure for your content and your brand, is thinking about all the different channels you can get your content into this way through the eyes of relevance and authority. So if you do that, look outside the usual search engines, look at how to get relevant, look at how to get authoritative. You will definitely be head and shoulders above the competition and go a long way into establishing a strong following for yourself as your content starts propagating through all these different channels, getting listed higher and higher through all these channels, and hence getting more clicks, more views, more traffic back to your site, and strengthening your brand and your following, and hence the profit you make, the reach that you have, the impact that you have in your niche and in the world, the fulfillment that you get from your business, all those things that we're going for. And that's how it relates back to this idea of dominating any search engine that might be out there.
Yeah, and it's funny to me, actually, that looking outside of the normal search engine, like we didn't go, okay, let's try and get on the first page of Google per se. We just looked at dominating iTunes as a different kind of search engine. But by doing that and getting used to being relevant and having that authority, we were able to naturally get into the top 5 of Google, which I just love that that's how it worked.
Absolutely. I mean, I guess the natural tendency, I think, well, for human beings, but we see this in business all the time, and in marketing, it's the downfall of everybody's, is when you start a business, you just start doing the same things that everybody else is doing. Realtors might look and see, oh, well, everybody else has got the photo on the bus bench, or the yellow page ad, or the display ad in the neighborhood newspaper. So I guess that's what I'll do too, rather than, thinking about taking, okay, well, what are the principles that work there? And let's go find another channel and just dominate over there using, the same tried and true things, but let's go with, what people aren't doing. So I guess another kind of bonus lesson out of this bit of chatter here. So thanks, Dan, for sending that question in. Great question, and hopefully that's answered it for you, not only for iTunes, but even above and beyond that as well. So if you have a question that you'd like to send in for the show, we just might play it on the show, you can go to our site, and on the Contact Us page, there's the voicemail line that you can call in and leave a comment or question, and we'd love to include that in a future episode of Internet Business Mastery.
And remember, there's a live question and answer call each month for Academy members where you can ask us anything about starting and running an internet business. If you're not a member, no problem. Just go to internetbusinessmasteryacademy.com and sign up now. All right, so we've got a quick breakthrough today that we wanted to share with you, and it comes from Josh Borman, who's a new Academy member, and this actually comes from the Mastermind community forums inside the Academy. And he says, my recent mindset breakthrough was progression, not perfection. This tip keeps me motivated and focused to constantly create and build my business, as opposed to getting tied down with minor detail and insignificant stuff. I also had a brainstorming planning breakthrough. I signed up and purchased MindMeister on my iPad, and it is a godsend. I have set out a structure of my business and color-coded each box. And he's talking about MindMeister.com, and we used it for years before we actually upgraded, and we pay quite a bit more for a service we use. But MindMeister is a great place to start. And it's funny to see people talk about that progression, not perfection. That's something we say in the Academy quite often. I'm glad it's striking home.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's it's good we say it often, because I need to be reminded of that too. It's about making progress, not getting everything perfect, because it is easy to get really hung up on and tied down in minor details, as Josh says. So really happy that's helped out with that. Mind mapping. So MindMeister, the cool thing about MindMeister is that you can use it online anywhere there's a web. It's a web browser based mind mapping tool. And so here he's talking about how he used it to plan out his business and color code things. And I mean, we use mind maps every single day, whether it's to outline content, whether it's strategy. We use it in our meetings to go down through the agenda. I mean, it's just,
we're using it right now to do this show.
Right now we're looking at a mind map. Absolutely. And MindMeister is awesome. It's MindMeister, MindMeister. I think they're a German company.com. And you can go on your iPad, your iPhone, on your browser, anywhere. You just log into your account and access your mind maps. You can export them if you want. all kinds of cool things. So that's, I guess, a bonus quick tip right there. We've probably mentioned it in the past, but definitely worth mentioning again. So thanks for bringing that up, Josh. And if you want to check out Josh's site, go to lawfirminternetsuccess.com.
It's time for the Internet Business Quick Tip.
So, Sterling, would you consider yourself a fast reader?
I think I am, actually.
Oh, nice.
I've never tested myself. I did take a speed reading course 10 years ago, though I don't know if I actually still do it or not. It might be part of me.
All right. And have you, like, when it comes to, do you usually read much, like, on your computer on the screen, or is it usually you want to read things offline on paper?
I print it. I don't like reading on the screen. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes the screen, it's hard to feel like I do feel like I can read a lot faster on paper. Or on actually on the iPhone screen, because it's a shorter, it's not as wide. Like I can actually whip through things pretty quick on an iPhone screen, interestingly. But yeah, speed of reading has been on my mind. I feel like I'm a pretty decent reader, and I've gotten good at skimming and deciding what's relevant and not, and getting through books pretty quickly. But there's always so much information I'd like to consume that if I could become a speed reader, which I know people who are, and it's amazing to hear about and see their systems for processing information are amazing. If I could become a speed reader or a faster reader, I guess it'd just be really, really cool. And in my search of doing that, I came across a nifty tool, probably just made by somebody who wanted to increase their speed of reading, and also who just found it very frustrating to try to read stuff online. It felt very slow. And so there's this cool tool called Zap Reader. So if you go to zapreader.com, it's just a very simple, different little tool. If you go there, there's a video explaining how it works. And what you do is you grab some text and you put it into the reader, and you tell the reader how many words you want to see at a time on the screen. And this is one of the things they do to teach you speed reading is, rather than having you look at a whole line, they put one word up at a time, but they're, flipping through so many words a second. And you can see that, like, that's one of the first things, and you can see that you can speed up your reading pace quite a bit by just having one word at a time flashed in front of you, and then two words at a time. And then you try to, kind of stretch out how wide you can read that, have a line be and read that fast. It's an interesting little experiment just to grab like a blog post or some kind of text, go to Zap Reader, paste it in there, and click Zap it. And according to the settings that you have as far as the rate and how many words at a time on the screen at a time, it just starts playing the words out in a little video for you, and you can actually read things a lot faster using this thing. So you could either use it to speed yourself up in how fast you read, or you could use it just if there's something online and it's not formatted well, or it's just in these long wide lines, or it's just more text than you want to try to read, maybe throwing it in Zap Reader, you can get through it maybe even twice as fast by having it flashed in front of you one or two words at a time at a certain rate. So I don't know. I thought that was pretty nifty. I thought I'd mention it here on the show, zapreader.com. And there's even a little bookmarklet that you can put up, a little link you can put up at the top, like in your bookmarks on your browser, so that if you're on a page and you're like, oh, I just want to Zap read this, you can click the bookmarklet and bam, have it put into Zap Reader, and off it goes, start speeding through for you, and you can, read it really fast that way.
Nice.
What do you think of that?
Yeah, I mean, anything that, especially if you're somebody who pulls in a lot of information, anything that can make it go quicker, that's awesome. I mean, on the iPhone, I use the 1.5 and 2 times speed when I'm listening to stuff a lot of times as well to get through more. So yeah, if you're more of a reader on the screen, this is awesome.
Definitely. Yeah, that's a great one too, is getting used to listening to things faster. I do the 1.5 times speed a lot when I'm listening to stuff. And then even, there's tools I use to speed up flash video. So if I'm watching somebody's video and I want to get through it faster, I'll listen to that at a 1.5 times speed, or watch it at 1.5 times speed. So yeah, this is a way to do that with reading. So check it out.
If you'd like to get dozens of resources such as this one, you can find them in the Internet Business Mastery Academy, along with video tutorials showing you exactly how we use many of them. So to get your risk-free trial membership to the Academy, go to InternetBusinessMasteryAcademy.com.
You've been listening to the iconoclasts of the 9 to 5, Sterling and Jay. Sterling and Jay invite you to discover one of their most popular video programs ever, the Online Business Freedom Formula. Visit freevideogift.com right now to get instant access to this life-changing video series, pulled directly from the acclaimed Internet Business Mastery Academy membership community. Go now to freevideogift.com. Take control. Make more money. Start an internet business today.